So up until this video, we have done mostly theory, but I needed to do that to bring you up to speed, guys. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a program that takes someone's name and age and outputs it to them. So it's a pretty simple program. So the first thing we need to make some room, make some space. So let's define a name array that takes 20 bytes. So this will take their full name and it'll store it into this name array. And what we're going to do is we're going to go scanf %s, which means we are wanting to read a string, and then we just provide name here. So what this will do is scanf reads from the keyboard, right? %s means we're reading a string, and then name is the variable we want to actually input that data into. Now what happens when you put name here is it'll take the address, the memory address of our array, and it'll pass it to the scanf function. That's what's happening here. And you can also pass addresses by putting in an ampersand by there, but for arrays without the ampersand automatically does that. For normal variables that aren't arrays, you have to use the ampersand here, guys. So down here then I want you to go printf %s, and just before that go your name is %s, and in the next argument we just pass name, and also do a new line as well at the end there. So this should be pretty straightforward to understand. We read in the name using scanf. The system knows we want to read in a string because we use %s, and the string is basically a series of characters. So scanf will read from the keyboard, and anything we input it'll store into our name array, and then we output your name is %s, and we pass in the name, so it'll give us our name to us. So if you go back to the terminal, then make sure you've cd'd into your directory, and we're going to go up twice, enter, and then we're going to go main, enter, and now nothing happens because it's waiting for us to enter our name. So I'm just going to do Dan, press enter, and it says your name is Dan. Not bad at all. So what we can do here then is we can say we can now read in their age. So just up here, if you go integer age equals 0, and you do scanf %i for integer, and then we do age, and this won't work. Make sure there's an ampersand here, guys, so you don't run into problems, because we're getting the address of the age variable and passing it to scanf. So what happens is all our variables have memory addresses. So by using ampersand, we're passing the address to scanf, so scanf knows where to store our number that we enter. So then it says, so then down here, do another printf. Your age is %i, and then in the second argument, pass in age, and again use an ampersand here, guys, because we want to read in the address. Go back to the terminal, run your program, do main again. Now enter your name, enter your age. Oh, yeah, in this case we shouldn't have used the ampersand because we are outputting a literal value, whereas here we need to use the ampersand because scanf expects somewhere to store it. Here we don't need to know the address, we just need to know the value. So that was my mistake. Go back and compile that again and run main. Enter your name, Dan. Your name is Dan, your age is 24. So then, if you want to be cool about it, you can say, and in 10 years you will be %i, and then here you can go age plus 10. So now if we do that again and we run main, Dan, your age is 30, and in 10 years you'll be 40. So yeah, pretty simple stuff. So just to demonstrate this then, if we weren't to provide the ampersand and we try to compile that, it compiles fine, but if we run it and now type Dan and type your age, what's this? What's happened? It crashed. The program crashed on us because you need the ampersand, because if we just provide age, it's the equivalent to passing in this 0. So it's saying to the system, because age is equal to 0, right? So it's the equivalent of saying read in an age and store it in address 0. But address 0 is not our age variable. And that's the problem, right? So you need to provide the ampersand. And I'll explain more in the next lecture about memory addresses. Okay guys, there's some other stuff I want to just go over quickly. So you notice we provide an ampersand for age but not for name. The reason for this is because arrays, you don't have to provide the ampersand. If you just provide the actual variable name of an array, it'll automatically take the ampersand. It'll automatically take the address automatically. Whereas for normal variables, the ampersand is required because otherwise it'll take its normal value. So that clears that up. Okay, second thing I want to discuss is if you run the program again and you type a full name, you will see, let me just recompile that a minute. You will see that it doesn't work. It just says your name's Paul. The reason for that is because scanf stops at the nearest white space. In other words, a space or a null, something that's a white space, right? So there's another issue with this code. We don't actually check if the data we're reading fits in the bounds of the array. Remember what I was saying earlier, that it's very important. So because of that, it means that we can enter a really large name that's above 20 bytes. And it might not even crash the program. It doesn't always does, but that doesn't mean it's right. If it doesn't crash the program, chances are you've corrupted some data, but it hasn't led to a crash. Now if I just do that, and you can see it crashed the program that time. Now, because we've exceeded the 20 bytes, we stored this, which is way more than 20 bytes. So what's happened is it's gone over the 20 bytes. It's probably overwrote our age variable, or maybe these ones, depending on the order that the compiler compiled them into the binary file. And because it's overwrote those values, it's actually led to a crash because we've probably overwritten the return address or something. Now remember I was saying hackers can exploit this to do nasty things. So I'm going to show you in one line of code how to fix first this problem where it only allows you to enter first name because it sees the space and then stops. And secondly, the second problem where it overflows the buffer. So we're going to fix all of that with one line of code. Now the function to use to do this is called fgets. Fgets reads from a file. Now I know what you're thinking, well this isn't a file, right? Well, in C you have what's known as stdin and stdout. Now both of these things are file pointers. They can be used as if they were a file on disk, even though they're not. So stdin contains any input that we pass to our program while it's running. stdout contains any data we're outputting. Okay, so that makes sense. Now, let's get rid of our scanf name here, and we're going to do fgets. It's going to ask for a buffer, so let's pass in name. And remember, you don't have to pass an ampersand here because arrays, they automatically put the address when you reference them by name, whereas normal variables you need to provide the ampersand to say this is an address. Now, if we go here, it asks for a max count, so just do size of name, which will be 20 bytes, right? So size of gets the size of the name variable, which is 20 bytes. And it asks for a file stream. Just type stdin, and now if we compile that now, and we run that, you can say Paul O'Brien, age 90, and it'll say your name is Paul O'Brien, your age is 90, and in 10 years you'll be 100. Now type loads of rubbish again, let's overflow the buffer. What happens? It doesn't work. It stops us. It only allows us to enter a name of 20 bytes. So it stops putting more data into the array when we reach that 20 byte cap. So I hope that sums up a lot of this stuff for you guys.